Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teele. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info. I'm Marcia Teele, your host, and I'm so glad that you could join us today, whether you're listening on the radio locally here in South Florida, or whether you're joining us on www.caregiversolutions.info. I'm so glad to have you with us, and I hope you tell your friends and family, anybody that's dealing with caregiving, especially Alzheimer's and dementia care. That's my passion, and I love to help people with that, and we're going to have lots and lots of different people on the show, as we have already, giving you, the caregiver, expert advice, guidance to help you navigate through all of those caregiving problems. It's not easy. No one ever prepared caregivers to do this, who thought that this was going to happen to us in our lives. I personally have been affected. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. My mother is probably going to get there eventually. She's showing some signs. And I've had several friends actually die of this horrible disease. So I'm very passionate. I'm so glad that I work at Arden Courts Memory Care Community for the last 15 years. I've been instrumental with all the resources that Arden Courts has to help so many caregivers and families, to help them through all of their difficult days and nights and weekends, because as we know, caregiving never stops. Dementia care is not something that comes and goes. Once you have it, especially if it's the permanent kind. And so we'll talk about different types of dementia on the show. We'll also talk about the warning signs. I want to invite you to go to the website and watch prior shows. We began June 1st, and you will find on the website different shows that you can watch with different topics that will help you with different problems that you may experience. So again, thank you for being with us today. Today is Tuesday. It is July 14th, and we have started a weekly 10 warning signs description from the Alzheimer's Association. Now, the Alzheimer's Association, as you all know, is a leader in support and doing research to try to find a cure, as lots of other research companies are doing. And they are pretty much all over the country and all over the world with different chapters. We're lucky to have our Alzheimer's Association Southeast Florida chapter here in this area, but you, wherever you are, probably have an association chapter close by you. They're a wonderful resource, and in the weeks to come, we will be having a representative from the association to give us more insight into what they can do for you. However, they do have this 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's disease, and we've been going through them week to week, and we're on number 3. So today we're going to be recovering some of the information that we already talked about and then moving on. So the first thing that I want to mention is that memory loss, of course, is one of the first warning signs. That was number 1, because memory loss is not a normal part of aging. I know that we used to say, oh, they're senile, they have hardening of the arteries, they're just old, and that's why they forget. But it's not a normal part of aging. Yes, we slow down. Yes, we can't recall things as quickly as we used to in our younger years, but it's not a normal part of aging. So memory loss is the number one. Number two was difficulty in performing familiar tasks. Now, last week we talked about what does that mean. We had the example of making a recipe from memory that was handed down maybe generation to generation, and you've made it, hundreds of times, and all of a sudden you forget what goes in it, what the temperature is, what the ingredients are. It can be other familiar tasks that you're used to doing, something that you do kind of automatically, and all of a sudden it just doesn't make sense to you. So that was number two. Number three on the list, we're going to be talking today about problems with language. Now, that is something that you can actually see in people because when you're with someone that's starting to have some problems, it can be evident in their speech. They have problems with language. They can't think of what they want to say. But it's not it's on the tip of my tongue like we might have, because again, eventually we're going to remember what we wanted to say. We're going to remember the word, and it might take us a while. Even with name recalling, you see somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, and you're like, "Oh, I know who that person is. I can't think of it, but it's right on the tip of my tongue." And one of my tricks when I do that is kind of go through the alphabet in my mind, and A, B, Alice, Betty, Charlie, Diane, Ellen, and you kind of like go through, and then all of a sudden, that's it, her name is Karen. So that's a little trick that I have, but it eventually comes to you. But problems with language is actually expressing what we want to say and coming up with the words that we want to say. And sometimes we're going to be noticing people with dementia replace words for one thing for another. So if they can't recall what something is, for instance, this pen, and they want to ask for a pen, they might not recall that it's called a pen. They might say, I need one of those writing things, or I need something, and maybe make a motion, or I need that whatchamacallit, okay? So they can't actually come up with the right word. Sometimes problems with language sounds like jibber jabber. We call it sometimes like a word salad, like their words are all mixed up. Sometimes they're not even real words. They come out as, it sounds like a foreign language sometimes, but in the mind of the person that has the dementia, they think that they're communicating exactly what they want to say. And so it's real important to, when that happens, to understand where it's coming from and not to ridicule or criticize somebody because they can't remember a word or they don't know how to say something. Sometimes it's babble and they just mix up everything and they go on. And the best thing to do in that case is to kind of agree and nod your head like you understand. And then if they get upset because maybe you shouldn't be agreeing with whatever it is, then then you're going to have to go to plan B, which is perhaps use a little distraction technique and get them off of that topic, whatever that topic might be in their mind that you don't know because they can't express it, and go on to something else, and so that they can be in a happier place. So a lot of dealing with some of these warning signs too, are very important how to learn how to do, which will help you with that on this program. But problems with language is a big warning sign. Sometimes people will actually come out with a sentence and they sound perfectly normal, but then they'll say it out of context. Okay, so for instance, they might say, I went to the giraffe. Okay, well, what's the giraffe? There was a gentleman that I personally knew who, before he came to live at Arden Courts, had gotten out of his home, wandered away, and he was lost. And the helicopters came, the police came, the dogs came. They were all looking for him. And he had wandered across his community, all the way across a big, huge, community, a 55-plus community, and either fallen, slipped, or walked, nobody knows because nobody was there, into the lake. And they did find him, and he was in the lake, covered head to toe with mud. And the police got to him, and they said to the gentleman, "How long have you been in the water?" And he said, 45 tomatoes. So there's a perfect example for you that he couldn't say minutes. He didn't understand, he couldn't get the right word out. He had a problem with the language. So that is number 3 on the list. Number 4, we'll go ahead and talk about number 4 on the list. Number 4 is disorientation to time and place. Now, what does that mean? You don't know where you are. Perhaps you don't realize you're living in Florida. Maybe you think that you, meaning you're the person with dementia, is in New York. Maybe they think the year is 1995 and it's really 2015. So they're not sure the time, space, how it relates to where they are. They will really be living a lot of times in the past because they're not oriented to the present time. And so you see a lot of this talking about what they did, where they used to live, where their neighbors used to be. They can go way back. People with Alzheimer's live in the past a lot because that's what they can still remember, because the first things they learn are the last things they forget, and the last things they learn are the first things they forget. And then hopefully that makes sense to you, meaning when we grow up, when we're children and we learn the ABCs, a person with Alzheimer's can still pretty much recite the ABCs because that was one of the first things that they learned. However, if you teach a person with Alzheimer's something new, maybe how to trying to learn how to do physical therapy, for instance. They can't learn new things. They can do them at the moment, and they can follow and follow instructions a lot of times. But to recall what to do when the therapist isn't there, they don't remember that. So that's something that they just learned that went in and out, wasn't stored in their memory. The ABCs are there. The 1, 2, 3 counting is there. So that is something that's in their long-term memory. And so the disorientation between time and place comes and goes too. It doesn't have to be consistent. A lot of caregivers actually think, wow, he's bad because, he couldn't remember this and he forgot that. And then either later the same day or the next day, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, he's cured, he's better because now he knows who I am or he knows where he is and he remembers this or that. And you're going to find that going up and down as the dementia, Alzheimer's progresses in someone, it's continual, it doesn't stop, it's a progressive disease. But there's going to be good days and bad days. And so you're going to see that as the dementia progresses and the Alzheimer's is increasing, there's going to be good days and bad days. But overall, eventually there will be, unfortunately, more bad days than good days. So that's a little bit about some of these warning signs. These are important to watch out for because we all want to be aware. And, we're all about awareness, and we need to be aware and we need to share. So I'm glad that you're here so we can all be aware together and we can share. And we're going to go to our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to have some more goodies for you. So stay tuned.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you.
Hi, this is Marcia Teele of CareGiver Solutions Info. I'd like to tell you about Senior Home Companions. They provide care in the home for seniors by active seniors. The caregivers are mature men and women who understand the needs of seniors. Caregivers are individually matched to each client, creating a bond and a high level of comfort. A nurse registry, Senior Home Companions have been assisting seniors in Palm Beach County for 17 years. For a complimentary assessment, call Gloria at 561-347-6676 to see how a senior home companion can help you.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and welcome back. Glad you stayed with us. I want to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community, for making this show possible, and also thank our local sponsors. They're wonderful people, so please make sure that you give them a call and see what they can do for you. One of the things that Arden Courts can do for you right now is provide you with a free copy of the Still Alice novel. You may have seen the movie, you may have read the book, but if you have not read the book and you would like a free copy of Still Alice, all you have to do is call the 800 number for Arden Courts, and that number is 888-478-2410. Talk to them. They'll answer the telephone 365 days a year from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can call them, ask questions, get resource information. There's over 50 Arden Courts across the United States, and they do memory care. That's all they do. And so they're experts in the field of assisted living for memory care, and they want to provide this book to you as an awareness, because it's important to understand that Alzheimer's doesn't just happen to older people, it can happen to younger people also. And this book, which is a novel written by Lisa Genova, Still Alice, actually goes through the life of a younger person around 50 years of age, who has a family, who has a career, and all of a sudden she's beginning to lose certain abilities. And it's from her perspective what's happening to her and how this devastating disease affects her. So give the Arden Courts 800 number a call. Give them your name, address, and telephone number, and they'll be happy to send you a complimentary copy of Still Alice so that you can be in the know also. I recently actually got to watch the movie Still Alice with a friend of mine who actually works in the field of dementia also, and we were very intrigued and, of course, glued to the set. And we rented the movie from Redbox and at our convenience got to watch it. And it rang true. I mean, I would say that everything that happened in the movie, I feel was pretty ring true with what really happens in the life of someone. I unfortunately had a friend who was 52 years old, and she had early onset dementia. And she went downhill very, very fast because it's pretty common that the earlier someone is diagnosed with dementia, they have early onset. I'm talking like in their 40s, 50s, maybe early 60s, it goes faster. So the earlier someone gets at the earlier age that someone actually is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the faster the disease progresses. And unfortunately, my friend did pass away from the disease, and it was a horrible thing to watch because she was so beautiful and so young and so wonderful, and had so much to give and so many friends and family members. And, we don't know why this disease happens to people. That's what we're trying to find out with the research that's going on. But in this case, her name was Linda. In Linda's case, she actually had a family history. And it's a very, very sad story because Linda had two siblings, and of course her mother and her father. And the mother passed away from Alzheimer's disease. Linda passed away from Alzheimer's disease. Her brother passed away from Alzheimer's disease, and her other brother currently has Alzheimer's disease. And so the horrific scenario is that here's a man who's lost his whole family, his wife and 3 children wiped out from Alzheimer's disease. I mean, can you just imagine what this man, feels and what he's going through? And it's horrible when it happens to someone we know. It's horrible when it happens to one person we know. But in this gentleman's case, his whole family, he had 4 family members that he had to watch suffer from this. And so, yes, it is better chances of actually getting Alzheimer's disease if you have a family history, but it doesn't mean necessarily that you will, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't. But, in this case, unfortunately, the genes were there, and it was a very, very sad situation. So we need to be aware that it can strike anybody at any time. And so this book, it's going to help us be aware. Also, let's talk about Glenn Campbell. Now, I love country music, and everybody that knows me knows I love to country line dance, and I love country music. And so I've always liked Glenn Campbell. For you all that don't listen to country music, very famous country music musician, been in some movies, wonderful man, family man, and he came out back in 2011, I believe, with the announcement that he actually was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And there was a documentary that was created for everyone to be able to watch and see progression of how not only he handled it, but how the family handled it. And it was recently on television, I believe it was CNN, and I did watch that, and it actually made a bigger impact on me than the Still Alice movie did, because the Still Alice movie is fictional and Glenn Campbell's story is for real. I mean, this is a real life case. It's there. We see someone who we've adored and spent time with on the radio, listening to music, watching on television, and now all of a sudden he's losing all his abilities. And that was more impactful to me because it was real. And I see it every day, of course, and it's really important for people to understand what happens, because Glenn Campbell still maintained his ability to produce music. That was one thing that he kept for a long, long time throughout the progression of his Alzheimer's. And that's because he had been doing music, writing and singing and playing since he was a little boy, like 4 years old. So again, there's that connection between first in, last out. So what he first learned, music was his life, and the music abilities that he had continued on until it got to the point where he no longer could perform. And he did a tour, and he actually went on tour through the United States and maybe even overseas. But he went on a tour with his tour bus, with all of his supporting staff, and people knew that he had dementia, and they loved him because he was still out there doing what he loved. And until it got to the point where he was making too many mistakes, and it was too hard for the family to have him continue. It was too hard for him. And now I understand that he is in a memory care community in Nashville. And so if you get a chance, look that up. You can probably find it online. It's called Glenn Campbell, It's Still Me. I believe that's the name of it. And take a look at that, because you will be fascinated, as I was, to watch this documentary about this person. Because when I read the book and saw the movie, or at least with the movie, it kind of left me hanging a little bit, because you didn't see the end of the story. And, not that we want to see the end of the story. It's sad because we all know what the end of the story is. We all know that the person's going to die of Alzheimer's disease. There's no way to get around that. But the story in the movie ended, and you didn't get to see the rest of the story. So to me, I felt that it didn't really tell the whole story. And, maybe that's why it wasn't out at the movie theaters very long. I mean, some of these movies are out there, and they're blockbusters, and they're out at the movies for such a long time because they're making so much money, and so many people are enjoying what's out there at the theaters. But Still Alice, even though the actress won some awards for her acting in the show, it was amazing how fast it left the theaters, and it went right to DVD, right to Redbox. You could get it on Netflix. And I thought, again, what a tale that is, saying that this movie people didn't want to see. I mean, some, yes, they did, but it wasn't a blockbuster where it stayed up for everybody to see, because, it is sad. Some people might even say it's depressing. I don't see it as depressing, only because I work with it every day, and I know what kind of joy that I can bring, we can bring as a memory care community into someone's life. And so, we meet them where they are, so to speak. But yes, it is sad, it is depressing, and some people just want to stick their head in the sand, and like an ostrich, and not deal with it. And so that, to me, is sad. That, to me, is very sad, why we don't want to be aware, because it's all about awareness. And so please, be aware and share, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to do more to find a cure. That's the only way we're going to be able to do more, by getting people to participate in research. And so when we come back, I'm going to share with you about some opportunities that you can help in helping to find a cure for this disease. So stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Take a pen and jot down this information. Right from the Heart assists families in finding the right living arrangements for their aging parents. Founded in 2012 by Sharon Agate, Senior Lifestyle Consultant, Sharon has counseled seniors and their families for over 20 years in clinical settings and in independent assisted living and memory care communities. Finding the right community can be overwhelming and time-consuming. Right from the Heart takes the stress and worry from you. Sharon will meet with mom or dad and evaluate their needs and lifestyle preferences and create a personalized plan at no cost to you. She will accompany you to visit selected communities and guide you every step of the way, so you can be assured you're making a well-informed decision. Call Sharon at 561-374-4696. Sharon's promise to you is in your knowing that her advice will always come right from the heart.
Hi, this is Marcia Teele of CareGiver Solutions Info. I'd like to tell you about Senior Home Companions. They provide care in the home for seniors by active seniors. The caregivers are mature men and women who understand the needs of seniors. Caregivers are individually matched to each client, creating a bond and a high level of comfort. A nurse registry, Senior Home Companions have been assisting seniors in Palm Beach County for 17 years. For a complimentary assessment, call Gloria at 561-347-6676 to see how a Senior Home Companion can help you.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info. We've been talking about warning signs of Alzheimer's disease. We've been talking about early onset dementia. We've been talking about awareness, and we've been talking about what we can do to try to stop this horrible disease. One thing that we can do, that anybody can do pretty much, is participate in research trials. We have researchers across the country. No matter where you are, there's probably a research study going on close enough that you could actually participate in. And researchers need us. They need us to help them to find a cure, because they can have all the mice in the laboratory they want, but they need real people, because that's who we're trying to help, real people. Our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, our aunts and uncles. We need to help them. So there's lots of different studies that a lot of the drug companies are trying to find answers, and they work through research centers. And there are opportunities, whether you have maybe some mild cognitive impairment, whether you don't have anything wrong with you, and you're going to be maybe as a study base. There are a lot of different kind of trials out there doing different things. They're really scrambling to find an answer. So there's lots of opportunities out there to see if you qualify. And that's the important thing, because maybe you won't qualify because a lot of the different studies have restrictions that would not allow you to participate, but they're going to tell you what they are. And so I would encourage you to try to see if you can participate in a study. I want to make an announcement that there's a Purple Challenge coming up, and the Purple Challenge is Brain Matters Research. They are challenging all of us, the Purple Challenge. Now, purple, why purple? Purple has been designated as the color for Alzheimer's disease. We know pink is breast cancer, and there's different colors for different kinds of diseases out there. But purple is the one that we relate to Alzheimer's disease. And I love purple. And I'm glad that our logo is purple, and I can relate to that. But the Purple Challenge, so Brain Matters Research, located here in South Florida, they want to give you the Purple Challenge, and they're looking for healthy people, okay? So if you are cognitively healthy, in other words, you're fine, you feel your brain is fine, you feel you don't have any memory problems, you're good to go, and you're between the ages of 65 to 83, then you can call and see if you can participate in this study, and at least find out, get a screening to see if you can. So all you have to do is give a call to the department at Brain Matters Research, and they'll, really friendly people, they'll ask you a couple of questions, kind of screen you over the phone, see if you do qualify to come in and do a screening. And it's very non-invasive. When you go in, you take a little quiz, and there's no wrong answers, there's no right answers, and maybe take a little blood sample, some labs, and that's it. And you'll be compensated for that, and you'll be helping to make this research continue. So if you call this number, 561-374-8461, I'll say it again, 561-374-8461, 8461 and tell them that you want to take the Purple Challenge and that you heard it on Caregiver Solutions Info, and they'll be happy to take your call and see how they can help you and you can help them. And hopefully one day it would be awesome if we could have a cure for Alzheimer's disease. So they say that by doing this, you'll explore your cognitive health, you'll determine your genetic risk, you'll contribute to scientific discovery, and so much more, so many more benefits. So take the Purple Challenge and give me a call if you did and tell me how it was. I'd love to hear from you. So today I had a family in, and they were referred to Arden Courts, and they came in to talk about what they're going to do about Mom. So I just kind of want to share their story a little bit because it's a sad story, actually, because the family is sort of in a bind, and this is very, very common. And so there are a lot of resources out there that can help people, and that's why Caregiver Solutions Info was created, to give resources to caregivers who might find themselves in a bind and not know what to do. But the story is that Mom was living with her son. She's in her early 90s, and she's outlived her money, and she has Social Security, and now the son, who is a caregiver, doesn't want to be a caregiver anymore. And so we find this a lot. Caregivers become overwhelmed. Caregivers don't know where to turn. Luckily, he was referred to Arden Courts so that we could help him and get him on the right track and give him resources that he needed in order to help him with his situation. But I guess the story that I would like to impart to you is reach out, get the resources that you need, call somebody, call Caregiver Solutions, call Arden Courts, call the Alzheimer's Association, and get resources, and don't wait until you're at the end of your rope. Don't wait until there's a crisis happening. Don't wait until you don't know where to turn and, it's all bleak, because there is hope. And if as long as you don't wait until you're deep in a crisis, you can probably get on the right path and get the help that you need and get the right advice, and things can be better. Not that anybody's going to solve it all and make it go away, but it can be better. And that's what we all want. We want it to be better. We want better days. And so we're striving for better days, and better can be lots of things. Better can be, instead of crying that something happened, or that something's over, you have to be glad that you had the opportunity. It's a lot of it is perspective too. So we want to be aware of what we're going through, and a lot of caregivers aren't aware of what they're going through. It's sort of like the lobster, in the boiling water, and as the lobster's going in, the live lobster's going in the water, and you ease them in, and they get used to the hot water, and then they go a little further and get used to it, and they're in the hot water, and they don't even realize that they're being boiled. So, caregivers, I think a lot of them are the same way, because they think a lot of things that they're going through is normal. And it's not normal. Some of the things that they have to put up with, some of the things that they don't understand, but they're not the only ones going through it. And so you want to be able to reach out, go to support group meetings. There's lots and lots of support group meetings, and hopefully you'll reach out to find one for you. If you go to a support group meeting and it's not your cup of tea, as far as the people or the facilitator, then go to another one. There's nothing that says that one size fits all. When you're dealing with caregiving and you're dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia, there's not really one answer for everything. There's usually multitudes of answers, different ways to go about things. And, there's creative ways to go about things that maybe you're not aware of and no one's ever shared with you because, you don't let them know. So we need to have a conversation. We need to talk about this disease. We need to share with our family and our friends and our neighbors. And some of them will be supportive and some of them will not be supportive. I know a lot of caregivers who tell me that once their spouse was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and started having some of the symptoms and behaviors associated with it, that all of a sudden they lost all their friends. And that is also, unfortunately, something that happens. They become ostracized. And I don't think it's because their friends necessarily want to be mean to them or drop them like a hot potato, but I think a lot of it has to do with the friends don't understand. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to help maybe, or they don't understand. Who knows? Maybe they think it's contagious. I mean, who knows? So unfortunately, you have to find your support group, and it might not be your old friends anymore. Hopefully, some of your good old friends will stick by you, and then they're really a true friend. A lot of acquaintances, come and go, and that's sad. But you have to have people that understand and they can be there for you, and that you love and that you trust and that you can rely on and that you can lean on and that can be there for you. People need people. Even people that have dementia, they need people too. I mean, if the human touch is so important. The caregivers need the human touch. That's why I always say, we end the show with give somebody a hug. I love to give hugs, and I can't tell you how many caregivers that I've just, hey, let me give you a hug, and they hang on because they need it. They're not, unfortunately, getting it from maybe their spouse who has advanced dementia, Alzheimer's, can't give back that hug, can't give that feeling that says, hey, I matter. Someone cares about me. And so give somebody a hug. You don't know what that can do for them. And people that have the dementia, maybe they won't initiate it, but let me tell you what, boy, they love it too. They eat it up. And so, that human touch, the touch my hand, hold my hand, give me a hug, give me a smile. That is so important. And so for you out there that maybe have friends who they don't know what to do and they have gone by the wayside, give them a call and say, you don't have to do anything. Maybe, give me a hug. If you give me a hug, that could do a world of good for me. And so share that with your friends and help them to understand, not only what you're going through, but how to deal with it because they feel at a loss. Someone goes to the hospital and they have an operation and they come home. So the neighbors all bring a casserole, right? They bake you a cake. But what do you do for somebody that has dementia and you're a spouse and you're dealing with this? Is a cake going to help? Is a casserole going to help? I mean, you can do those things yourself. And yes, that's nice, but you need to be there for a little bit more support to give them what they really need. They need understanding. They need someone to give them a hug, to say, I'm here, I understand, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to go through this. I'm really, really, truly sorry. And they'll feel it. They'll feel your heart. And if it comes from your heart, then that's what matters. So we're going to take another commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Take a pen and jot down this information. Right from the Heart assists families in finding the right living arrangements for their aging parents. Founded in 2012 by Sharon Agate, Senior Lifestyle Consultant, Sharon has counseled seniors and their families for over 20 years in clinical settings and in independent assisted living and memory care communities. Finding the right community can be overwhelming and time-consuming. Right from the Heart takes the stress and worry from you. Sharon will meet with mom or dad and evaluate their needs and lifestyle preferences and create a personalized plan at no cost to you. She will accompany you to visit selected communities and guide you every step of the way so you can be assured you're making a well-informed decision. Call Sharon at 561-374-4696. Sharon's promise to you is in your knowing that her advice will always come right from the heart. Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info. I'm Marcia Teele, and I'm glad that you joined us today. We've been talking about lots of different things, and I'm glad that you're with us because every conversation that we have, I think something is to be gleaned from it. And right now, I want to share with you in the last several minutes that we have here together, I want to share with you about the 4 Ps of placement. Now, a lot of people, say you need to look for a place. It's getting hard for you, Mom. You need to look for a place for Dad. Or, the spouse is told by the doctor, you need to find a place. And how do you do that? What do you do? How do you know where to go? How do you know what is available? And so what we like to do at Arden Courts is to educate caregivers because we feel that an educated caregiver is going to make better decisions. And so the 4 Ps of placement is something that I came up with to help educate caregivers so that you can find what you need and you can make comparisons because you're going to ask the right questions. So I'm going to share with you in the time that we have left today, and if we don't finish, we'll pick it up next week. The 4 Ps of placement, what you need to know before placing someone in a dementia community. These are pretty simple, but they're important. And so obviously the first thing that you need to look at is the place. And what about the place? First of all, where is it located? You don't want to pick a place just because it's close by, just because it's 2 minutes down the road and convenient for you. That is not the only criteria because it's close. Now, if it's the best place and it's close, then it's a win-win. But you want to be able to have peace of mind knowing that you have chosen the most appropriate place that gives the best quality of care for your loved one. And the distance should be a factor, but not the factor. I always say that if you're within an hour's drive of your choice, of your pick, then it'll be better for you and for your loved one because they'll get the care that they need. But also, you'll have peace of mind knowing that things are running smoothly. You don't have to run to the facility every 5 minutes because if you're 2 minutes down the road and you don't have confidence in the care or the people that are caring for your loved one and you have to go over all the time, several times a day or week, then that's going to just stress you out a little bit more as a caregiver, and you're going to have to do all that extra running. You want to have peace of mind. So if it takes driving a half hour, 45 minutes, even up to an hour to have that peace of mind knowing that you've chosen the right place, then that's great. So the place, where the location is, one factor. Another factor with the place, obviously, is it clean? How does it smell? That's very indicative. I've had families who, they're shopping for a loved one, and they walk into Arden Courts, and they're looking around, and they say, something's missing. And I said, something's missing. And they said, yeah. I said, well, what is it? And they said, I don't smell anything. And I said, well, that's a good thing. And they said, yes, it is. Because, who wants to go visit their loved one and have a foul smell as soon as they walk in the door? So, take the sniff test. I always say the only smell you smell at Arden Courts is the fresh baked cookies that we make every day for not only the residents but the families and the guests as well. So you walk in and you smell those cookies baking, and it's a very homey, welcoming smell. But take that sniff test of the place. And when you go to the place, you obviously want to check out their licensing. It should be available to you, located somewhere in the lobby, on the wall, in a book, on the table, and look for their recent state survey, look for their licensing posted, make sure that everything is up to date, see what their ratings were from their last state survey. So these things are available to you. You shouldn't have to ask. They should be in plain sight, but go ahead and ask if you don't see it, and take a look at those kinds of things. So that's the place. We want to move on quickly to the people. Now, of obviously the people that live there, when you take a tour, you want to look for happy people, content people that live there. You want to see if they're engaged in activities. You want to see how they're groomed, and do they look good, and are they well cared for? And you want to observe them and the people that live there. Are they walking? Are they on walkers? Are they wheelchairs? And that's all perfectly okay. But you want to make that observation, because depending upon who your loved one is that you would be making a choice for, you want to get a good fit, and you want to make sure that this is a good fit. So look at the people there. But not only the people that actually live there, look at the people that work there. What about the people that work there? Who are they? How are they trained? Do they welcome you? Are they smiling? Because, it trickles down. And if you have a happy caregiver, you're going to have a happier resident, absolutely. And so you want to look at the people that work there, how they're engaged with the residents, and how helpful are they, and you want to make those observations as you're taking the tour. The next thing is the programs. The third P is the programs. The programming for the residents, very, very important. You want to find out how many hours of programming they have per week. You want to find out what kind of programming that they have, what are the activities, how often they do them, how many hours, what's the variety, who are the people that are actually doing the program, and how many. Do they have one person trying to do it all? Do they have one person who instructs other people to do it? Or do they have more people that are hands-on and involved? Because activities and the stimulation that they provide and the socialization opportunities that are provided for residents and communities are very, very important. It's probably the best part of their day, I would say, is because they're engaged and they're doing things that make them feel productive or have fun or socializing. It's very, very important. So, activities, you want to look at their calendar and make sure their calendar isn't just for show, because by state law, they have to have a calendar, but do they really follow it? And you want to make sure that, okay, it's 2:30, 3 o'clock, whatever the time is that you're there, this is what is supposed to be going on. And check it out. Make sure that it's happening, because you don't want it just to be for show. You want them to actually follow that calendar and provide what they say they're going to provide. It's very, very important. The next thing, the people, we talked about the people that work there, the people that live there, the programs for the residents, but what about the programs for the families? Families are part of this disease too. Alzheimer's disease is a family affair. If one person has it, it touches everyone in the family. And so families need support too. Does the community provide a support group for the families? They need a support system. Just because someone has placed a loved one doesn't mean that that their questions are all answered, or that they still don't have issues to deal with. And going forward, as their loved one progresses, there's going to be things that crop up. So having a support group for them is really, really important. And also support groups for the outside of the community, for the general public, for caregivers to come to learn and to have that type of support also to come into the community and have their support group. So look for programs, look for educational opportunities. I know Arden Courts throughout the country, they have a free caregiving educational seminar every quarter that's open to the general public, and they welcome you to come in and to sit and learn from experts in the field of Alzheimer's disease. And they'll provide this free educational seminar. So wherever you're located, find an Arden Courts near you. If you can't find one, call the 800 number, the 888-478-2410, and say, where is there an Arden Courts near me? I want to find out about those free educational seminars. I think I'd like to check it out. And so they'll help you do that. And it doesn't cost a thing, and you can learn. And if you have a loved one that you can't leave at home and you don't have someone to care for them and you want to come to a seminar, give the Arden Courts a call, give them a heads up, give them a little notice, and if appropriate, then your loved one can come to the community and they'll take care of them, a little respite for you while the seminar's going on. And so that's what you need to do. So I'm glad you joined us, and thank you so much. And we're out of time, so check us out next week on Caregiver Solutions Info and give somebody a hug.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions. The opinion